Welcome to Ethocast. I'm Eddie Francis. Joining me is a brother who I have known for a minute. This is my man, Fitty Grand. His name is Mark Wiggins. And this dude is like Mr. Motivation.
Yeah.
Mark, what's happening, my brother? How you doing?
Eddie, it's so good to see you as always. The king speaker maker. Y'all know Eddie was the speaker maker. Don't let him fool you. He was the one who was responsible for a lot of this over here and a lot of other folk as a trainer back in the day, which we will never ever forget and forever in your debt for the training that you gave us. And been watching you again for years, all your different podcast stuff and all the things you've done. I'm over here rooting for you and your success. So I was glad to be on your show once again.
So, for anybody who has been subject to Mark Wiggins speaking, I'm not the problem. I just want you to know.
It was you. It was all you.
This man is a speaker. He is an author. He's a trainer. And but most of all, in the context of this podcast, Mark has been active, very active on the alumni level of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
It just
And
hurt you to say that. I know it hurt you, but I appreciate the way you just said it with such enthusiasm.
I'm the Black Greek success man.
That's right. You're the Black Greek
I have all the love. And you know what? One of my closest cousins just became your frat brother.
Yo.
Yeah, man. So, we all make our decisions. We make decisions.
Definitely. But yeah, man, I've been active. Well, since I've been grown, you get out of college and I pledged in 87, Gamma Phi, University of Alabama, Huntsville, Gamma Phi Colony back in the day for those in Southern Province. But by my card, it says Gamma Phi. But I was at UAH and 87, 90, I was playing ball in college. So you were there on campus. Afterwards, I moved to Nashville. And I've been all pretty much. So I moved to DC in 93. And for years I was out because I had my own business. I really couldn't make the meetings. But pretty much since then, I've been involved with Kappa on a very busy level for the most part.
So, and I keep forgetting that we're 2 years apart. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were 87, I was 89. And did you have a leadership position in college?
No, I did good to get to the meetings and to the party. That's all I could do.
Oh, okay. New. All right. Anyway, party time. So, okay. So this makes it even more intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. So, having not had a leadership position in college, did you even see yourself as a leader on the alumni level?
Oh, absolutely not. I didn't get into. Listen, it was one of those things where, but as you all know, Kappa Alpha Psi is always training for leadership, right? That's what we do, training for leadership. And I didn't really buy into all of that, but I knew I needed to be involved in working with stuff. So you bring your talents and you bring your skill set to the chapter, like you're supposed to do the church, but we all know what happens over there. And you get involved and you go for you slide into the 80-20 pocket, right? There's 20% of people doing 80% of the work and the other 80 complaining that they ain't financial. So anyway, I got into our chapter early. We chartered. I was chartered member of the Leesburg Alumni Chapter, we chartered 2009. I guess I got that right. Okay. And I was there 2 years, hanging out with the chapter. I was involved early and got pulled into being a replacement second vice Polmark. Second vice Polmark had to step down. The Polmark at that time, which is now the current senior vice Polmark, Paul Wilson. Shouts out to Paul Wilson. He'll shoot my ass. It's Paul Robinson. I don't know. Paul Wilson's not play ball with. Paul Robinson. Sorry, big brother. Anyway, he pulled me into leadership. He says, look, I need you to be second vice Polmark. And I was like, I travel too much. I got the kids. I was divorcing. I got to take care of my every other week, all of that. Just sit in the seat. We need you here. And I got introduced to Kappa politics. And that's how I got
hold on. So wait a minute, Mark. This is how they get everybody. I don't care what grad chapter, what fraternity you're talking about. This is how they get you. Just sit there. You won't have to do anything.
Right. Soon after that.
And for people who don't know, in Kappa, Polmark is a president, right?
Is a president, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Absolutely right. So I was second vice president at the time. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to the board. I wasn't I wasn't a reporter, exchequer, scribe, whatever y'all want to call it. I was none of that. Definitely wasn't the treasurer. So it was one of those things where I had to jump in and go, okay, I'll just sit here. And that's when I began to learn about the leadership aspect and the impact we were actually having. So I
Yeah.
sat there and rolled the chain all the way up, became vice polemarch, and then he did 3 terms that year. And then I became the polemarch of the chapter. So that, yeah, I've been in leadership and then moved on to where the real power sits in the past
Hmm.
polemarch council. There's a whole lot of back conversations and stuff, but you are the walking history, the continuity, the chain to help younger people as they move through the chain to understand the history of your chapter and what you've been through. So it's an important position to be in. So
When you actually started to get active on the alumni level, what were some of the differences that you took note of between the alumni level and the college level?
first of all, they say it's a privilege, not a right, and it's expensive. Let's just talk about the unnecessary expenses of all these doggone conferences we go to. Um, so I think the biggest change in philosophy was the work we were doing.
Hmm.
Undergrad, we were doing stuff that looked like work, which was getting through college, making us so present, representing well. And people did get involved early in undergrad, and political careers have gone great. But
Hmm.
most of us, we were just hanging out. Let's keep it a buck, right? We were just hanging out, doing a thing. We did small stuff and try to win the step show. Don't drop the cane too many times and be gone. Alumni was a little bit different because everybody got money, everybody got time, everybody got resources. We should be doing and having greater impact in our community.
Hmm.
So that was the biggest change for me, and then the impact we have in the community. People know you for your work. They go, oh, we know the Kappas are going to be here to do this, or we know the Kappas in Kappa League, our flagship youth program. Everybody has them, but we stand on ours a little bit different than everybody else does, right?
Right.
But we all get that work, and we get these boys. That's what we're after, right? So that was probably the biggest change, and I got to see once again the influence of catching those kids earlier who didn't get to do Boy Scouts, who didn't get the youth program at church, who didn't get any of those things or band camp. You know what I'm saying? They're different. They're different stuff. But now we got a chance to expose them to Black excellence, Black professionalism. Everybody in the room's educated or they claim to be educated. And we get all this stuff in the room. That was the biggest influence for me.
When you were in undergrad, did you mingle with some of the members of other fraternities and sororities like National Interfraternity Council or conference, I should say, National Panhellenic Conference? Did you get a chance to mix and mingle with any of those
Eddie, I didn't
groups?
know there's difference between the Panhandle and the national. We were on the PWI. My
Right.
college had was PWI, right? So yeah,
Yep.
we mingled with the Pikes, the Teaks.
Yep.
We threw some of the best parties with them white boys. I ain't gonna lie, they threw the
Yeah.
best parties.
Yeah.
It did something really strange. It's something strange. We charge for everything. We gonna make everybody pay to get in. They were giving away beer for free. We were like, hold on, we can't really do this. So what are you talking about? We got to charge at the door. No way. Oh, sure. Watch this. It was a great turnout. It was a success.
So
Um,
I asked you that because what was your reaction when you heard someone say, "Well, I was in a fraternity in college. I was in a sorority in college." When you heard them say that sort of thing, because I'll never forget this. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who was in one of the sororities. I want to say she was in Theta Phi Alpha, and we were just chopping it up one day. Just sitting there on the yard, just chopping up. And so one of the brothers passed by, and we cracked a joke about the founders.
uh,
And she was like, "What was that about?" I said, "Oh, well, we were just cracking a joke about a couple of founders." He called me Henry Arthur Callis. I called him Eugene Kingle Jones. And she was like, "What?" I said, "Well, those are two of our founders." And she said, "That is so amazing that you guys know who founded your fraternity." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You don't know who founded your sorority?" And so I found out that our knowledge and our dedication to understanding, at least, and I'm not going to try to speak for obviously for everybody, but at least with the Greeks where I was in school, that was a novel thing for them, for us to know date, time, place, all of that stuff, and then the names of the founders. And don't even talk about when we start talking about what the founders did for a living.
right, 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 right. It's fascinating. Yeah, the same that every time I hear the was, you kind of get that was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah,
for life.
yeah.
This is for life, Ron. Listen, we here for life, but that's the difference because their whole experience was undergrad. I don't know who even runs their organization.
Right.
It's some older people who are above and old money, but everything's undergrad. And then once you're
Yeah.
out, you were. I'm surprised they've lasted as long as they have. Year after year after year, all of us pushing 100 now, but it's a continuation thing. And unfortunately, even though we're undergraduate chartered, which is
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal across all facets, that they did this stuff 1900s, right? We'll throw them all together in 1900s.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they,
Yeah.
and we just had our Founders Day, January 5th, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
reading about what the founders were doing at
Mm-hmm.
21, 22, went to war, came back, doctor
Yeah.
this, inventor that, teacher here, educator there. Everybody was military. There's some military folks across the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All of them kind of educating because we had access to those things. Entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
pick one. I mean, we were all the categories, and you're like, wow. And then they want to, start rolling off and making these alumni chapters because they recognize that we were only there for 3 to 4 or more years. What next? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
may have been the distinction. Like, we want to be different than everybody else. We want to carry this thing a little further in the alumni chapters because we still needed to get together. We still needed to be amongst one another,
Yeah.
even back then.
Yeah. You're listening to the Ethocast. I'm Eddie Francis, and I'm talking to Mark Wiggins. And Mark is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, and he is also someone who has had a leadership position on the alumni level. And I was really interested in talking to Mark because he has led on the alumni level. I had the opportunity to lead on the alumni level. We'll never do it again. And and I just thought it would be really interesting to talk about, you know, what it is on the alumni level, what it is about leading on the alumni level, and also why do we find it important to even continue on in these chapters on the alumni level. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, but when I was initiated, my chapter was the first. It was the first Panhell fraternity chartered at Loyola. The
Mhm.
AKAs were there, the Deltas were there. There were no fraternities. We came along, and then we got our charter. Because of that, we didn't have an NPHC council, so I had to sit on the interfraternity council. And I will never forget when they were discussing Rush, and they were like, "Hey, what's Alpha Phi Alpha going to do for the Rush?" And we were like, "Ah, come on now. The black dudes that show up to Rush, 99% of them are going to be Alpha at this point. Okay, until we get Sigmas on the yard, Kappas on the yard, Omegas on the yard. And at the time, Iotas were not part of the Panhell. But I was like,
Mhm.
until we get them on the yard, come on now. Why y'all making these? Because I had to go through Rush, Mark. And I was just sitting there like, I don't understand what's happening.
Why we aren't taking our time? I'm looking for at least a semester of this, semester and a half. Y'all trying to rush things through. We don't understand what's going on. We did the same thing on our campus though, Eddie. We were at Alabama Huntsville, University of Alabama Huntsville. We were the first of all of them on the yard.
Wow.
We were the first of all. We came first, and soon after, everybody else was coming. And then, interestingly enough, because of one of the things that kind of drew me to Kappa was I was watching the brothers walk around in suits and briefcases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all engineers, and I was in liberal arts, so they're all engineers. I play
Oh,
basketball.
you slug.
So I'm watching them, but I like the way they carried themselves, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. So we got in and got situated. But when AKA then Delta came later, when Omega Psi Phi and Alpha came to the yard first.
Mm-hmm.
And they had us come to meet and goes, well, we just want to let you know there's another African American organization that wants to come on
Same
board.
thing.
She goes, would you guys be okay? We was like, well, I won't say what we said, but y'all okay? Yes, this is more blacks for everybody. Let's go. We saw it totally different, and we were immediately tight friends. We knew that some of the who wanted to be alphas, and they were on campus and like, oh, cool. So we always hung. Then they had to reback it down for Omega. Omega comes on the yard. They're like, y'all want dance? Like, are you sure that you want Omega Psi Phi in the room? Eddie, yes, we do. Oh, okay, all right. And they came on, and AKs and those came on the yard. But we were the first ones on the yard to get chartered and then to bring in and lead that whole thing. But we were hanging out. That's why we got to hang on with the white frats, because we were the only other thing moving on campus. It's like you said, if it was a black guy on campus, chances are he was trying to come be a Kappa. But it was just the way things went. Just
Why did they ask me the same question? So
they,
when I was sitting on the interfraternity council, the Sigmas were trying to get chartered, and they said, "Eddie, are you okay with that?" I was like, "What do you mean? Am I okay with that?" What am I, God? No, I mean, yes. I mean, but here's the thing that, I don't want to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to be blunt. They s- they they actually said there are only so many black guys on the yard. Are you sure that they aren't going to take all of your recruits? And I was just like, I say, okay, any dude who wants to be an alpha is going to be an alpha. Any dude who wants to be a sigma is going to be a
Yes,
sigma. It's really just that simple. It
mm-hmm.
is really that simple.
Yes.
But they hit me with the same question. Are you sure? And I'm going, it's not my decision to make. Why are you
Right.
asking me? Why are you asking one person about an entire fraternity chapter being chartered at a university?
And they didn't understand, again, in the essence of them trying to do the right thing and be right by the people that were there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But they didn't understand the deeper. We needed, if that drew more black people to the campus, because
Absolutely.
you couldn't get on an A&M, right? If A&M's pad, they got lines of 40, whatever, legacy, da 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 da, but you still wanted to be in that. So you came over to UH and joined. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened after that? We became this super tight friends and understand each other's roles, and then we pulled together and did stuff on campus. The exact thing they thought we wouldn't do, we did, which is
Mm.
work together, right? And not
Yeah.
have an issue with it. We support them; they supported us. Now, we, of course, talk smack all the time. That's what we do.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but yeah, that was an interesting time to think, and I'm scratching my head like, why is this a problem? Are you afraid some of the white guys who want to come over? Hey, we'll take them too if they qualify. But
had that happen too. So getting back to your
right.
life as an alumni brother.
Oh
So,
yes.
so when you start to get the work done, when did you get to a point where you said, okay, you know what, these dudes, they drive me a little crazy, but I'm glad I'm doing this. This is what it's all about. When
Hmm.
was there an event? Was there a situation where you got to that point?
I mean, it was always that, because what I began to learn, and you take our leadership lessons, and we're not exempt as black organizations, right? We're not exempt.
Right.
Leadership is still about leading and taking charge. What I found interesting was that all of these black educated men in the room, some worth millions, whatever, were waiting for my black behind to say left or right,
Yeah.
and weren't going to move unless I said left or right. I'm trying to get their feedback. But brother Paul Marks, whatever you want to do, is it really what I want to do? Then let's go over here. Let's do that. That was the hardest part to get wrap in my head, because I thought it was like a group decision, but I didn't recognize how much power, if you will, the leader, Basilisk, Polmark,
Hmm.
whatever, has and wields from the chair, and how we're always looking for that person to make the right decision on our behalf. Once I began to understand that and recognize what the responsibility of what that was, to
Hmm.
make sure I'm living the principles of why we chartered this chapter in this community, to do
Yeah.
things we're supposed to do in conjunction with the overarching things. That was that moment. And when we started doing stuff in the community, and when you see the look on people's faces, and oh, they're here, and we knew y'all would be here. Look, there go the, all of the things they say when we show up. I'm across board, right? As an alumni, I began to recognize the impact we're actually having in the community, and that was cool. Giving scholarships is what we're all about. I mean, in our county, on this area, Alpha is the number one scholarship giver.
Hmm.
Their fundraising event is right up there on the big major levels. They're giving huge dollars, right? Which is awesome. So every dollar we're giving adds to the collective. Even if you're just giving out a mere $1,000, but you're giving it to like 10 kids, that's something, and everybody gets in here. We're telling our kids, apply this scholarship. Hey, the Q's got something over there. The Alpha's got something. Delta's got something. Everybody's applying to this money we're gathering from different parts of the world and bringing it together and giving it to our community. That's when you recognize that, you know what, my role matters. But I'm telling you, the most critical time, I believe God puts us in position and prepares us for situations that show up, that you're the only one that can do that thing.
Mm.
Only one. And the most tragic moment in our chapter history happened under my leadership. It was terrible. It was absolutely horrible. We had a murder suicide in the chapter. And Eddie, I'm going to tell you, for those 2 years, seemingly forever, I was the worst Polmark meeting running brother you ever wanted to meet. I didn't vote right. I was like, just let's get to the meat of the meeting so we can hear from brothers. And my number one job was to keep us together and keep us straight. We have meetings where we're sitting there, brothers crying out to the roof, they're cussing brother out, like, how could you do this? And then we had to sit there and just listen. One thing black men don't do is share our emotions.
Yeah.
But in Kappa Alpha Psi Dulles Leesburg, during that window, amongst the other things we were achieving, that was probably one of my bigger moments, is be able to say that I was not too close to this brother. I didn't really know him, to be able to lead and keep us together. I mean, we had domestic violence forums and things were popping off of men having conversations. So you look at that leadership, because that's what arose under my term. I didn't get to do all the normal stuff other pole marks did when they get to roll programs. We did great stuff, but to me, that was my biggest accomplishment, to keep that chapter together for 2.5 years before I moved over to past pole mark.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I mean, a lot of times, particularly in the Divine Nine community, we don't like to share when things go left, and I appreciate you sharing that, because it normalizes we're human.
Mm-hmm.
These things happen with us. One of the things I heard in what you just said is something that I don't know why this has gotten under my skin so much lately, but I'll go through Instagram, I'll go through social media, I'll see folks, saying, "Hey, on my way to alumni chapter meeting, grad chapter meeting, whatever they," and they will get really, really loud about how I am doing the business of this fraternity, the business of this sorority. And they get to this point. I've actually heard somebody say this. Well, we don't really worry too much about that brotherhood and sisterhood stuff on a grad level. And I'm going, well, why are you still in a fraternity or sorority? And
Right.
I think what's special about the story that you just told is that you highlighted men needing men. You
Right.
know, men needing that brotherhood. They needed to cry. They needed to cuss about it. They needed to ask why did he do that? So I think that's something that I pulled out of that story that really gives a lot more wind to the sails of how,
Mm-hmm.
even after we graduate from college, we still need brotherhood, we still need sisterhood,
Exactly.
and we
But let me
still we
so
still need
your
each
point.
other.
To your point, Eddie, where else, as a Black Greek, where else can you go to get what you really truly need? Who else is understanding this?
Yeah.
Who else truly understands your ethos, right? Who understands why you move like you move, or the way you do the things that you do? Who understands it than another Greek, right?
Hmm.
I don't have to be in the alpha room to understand how alpha man moves, because a Black Greek is going to move differently. But I know there's some principles behind it. There's some stuff that you learn that you stand on. There's uplift. There's achievement in every field of human endeavor, and all these positive. Why would you not connect to something and stay connected to something that keeps you positively motivated? Kappa served for me during my dark times as a place to go hide.
Mm.
When I lost the marriage and I lost my father, whatever, I didn't need to do nothing. That's probably before I became second vice. All Palmer, all was going down. I just needed to be somewhere where no one would judge me. This brother don't lost his whole marriage over there.
Yeah.
Who amongst us?
Right.
Got some stones up in this camp, but that's not what I got. What I got was, if you want to talk about, talk about. If not, we about to have these beers and sit down and talk smack about the old days. What you up for,
Right.
right? And then, brother, how you doing? So
Yep.
that right there kept me probably the most engaged. Is that I know I can call and you get your little small pocket of ones and twos and threes that you run with. But I know there's not too many brothers in that chapter that I can't pick up the phone and call, that I want A, get an answer, and B, get some information or insight.
So I want to end on this question. If you had to talk to anybody in any type of fraternity, any type of sorority about making a shift from college brother or sister to alumni brother or sister, um, how do they make that shift so that they can still feel that brotherhood, that sisterhood, or they can still stay engaged in service? What kind of
That's a
mentality do you
great,
think they need to make that shift?
that is a great question. I'm gonna tell you, like, I'm gonna call his name right this time. The senior vice pole marker of the Eastern Province, Paul Robinson, told me,
We love you, Paul.
"Love you, Paul. What's up, big bro?" When he sees this, I'm gonna get cut. Anyway, he told me that when people are coming in, let's put it on the neophytes, people coming in, or also equate brothers transitioning over. You already
Mhm.
come out of college, you don't know, your legs are still wobbly, you're not sure what to do. You get to an alumni chapter. The first thing you really need to do is just shut up and sit down.
Mm.
Just shut up and sit down. Learn you shouldn't be going anywhere. This is for life. We're not was and we're forever ever. But be quiet for a moment and listen to it, all of it, and then start sorting out what's good and what's not good, what's is old, what we need to let go of versus there's some great traditions here we can hold on to and enhance, and then add your mix to the mix, which you've been given to bring to the collective. But your first hour in the chapter is not the time to get up and talk about, let's look at the bylaws. I need you to be quiet and I need you to understand some things. Let us nurture you. Let us love you. Let us show you, for those out there who know what founding pie is standing on, let us teach you that founding pie. Let me show it to you, right? And for all the other Greeks, we all got our own thing, right? But we can't show that to you when you come in thinking you know everything. What you're going to get is the cold shoulder and the elbow until you understand. And those who can come in and transition, say, I'm here, and do the work. Work is the new street cred in alumni life. I got 2 hours of interviews, 1 hour of initiation learning, and a lifetime of access to my whole life as a Kappa. I jest, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to impress me, I'm OG now. I can say these things. I need you to be everywhere we are, doing everything we do. If you want my respect. Until you do those things or attempt to do those things, I know you can't be everywhere, but do the basics. Pay the dues, pay the fees, buy your tables, raise that money, flip those hamburgers, wash the cars, move that hay, whatever you're doing.
Wait, sell that popcorn.
Jesus, listen.
Double good is coming.
They cuss me out. Did you sell popcorn?
No.
Bruh. They cuss me out. So I live, quick side note. Now I got to tell a side story. So during pandemic, I had a Delta friend of mine. She was a president. I call her La Madam Presidente, right? And so she said, Mark, we're doing something amazing. Well, we're doing popcorn sales. Get out of here. Yeah. I said, you're not doing popcorn, Mark. We made $80,000 selling popcorn. You're keeping 50. That's 40%. Now I'm an entrepreneur, brother. I do my thing. I said, what do you have to do? Send out a text. I said, this has got to be the easiest thing ever. Took it to the chapter. Negro, you must be kidding. We ain't selling no dang on popcorn. $30,000 in 5 days. Stop with me. Stop playing with me. We did it again. Nobody wants popcorn. They just had it. It's a consumable. They're always gonna. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea. We all sold popcorn. I love popcorn. They hate it, but I make Kappa League. I make them sell it.
Oh yeah. Be useful, kid. So, Mark, if anybody wanted to find out anything about you, how can they find out about you?
First thing, just go to my website. Go to markwigginsonline.com. Markwigginsonline.com, and from there are all my links, YouTube channels, a podcast, Off the Bench with Mark Wiggins. If you scroll back far enough, you can find Eddie on there as well. And that's Facebook, Speakerman87, if you're still there. I'm about to delete myself off of the other thing that renamed itself. I'm about to come off of that.
Okay.
So that's where to find me. Again, the podcast and digital magazine, Off the Bench magazine, is out there as well. You go to my page, free subscription. Every other month, we've got great articles coming out, great information coming out, and motivation on all types of topics. So you can find me there.
My dude, Mark Wiggins, speaker, author, trainer extraordinaire, the man, podcast host. And you'll find out more about Mark in the show notes. Mark, thank you so much for joining me on Ethocast.
Man, thanks for having me, Eddie. It's always a pleasure. You are awesome. For an alpha man, which I have some friends that are alphas.
Some of my best friends are Kappas.
Some of my best friends are alphas.